And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Self-Help Bookshelf. Right, close the screen down. So, welcome back, and we are here to share personal development strategies with you every week that create significant impact with small differences to help you find your higher self. So,
Hooray! And if you're watching, um, feel free if you get any insights from this, feel free to reinforce your learning through typing and speaking and writing. So anything that you get out of this, just comment because it helps you to reinforce what the insights you get from this, and obviously like, share if you really find this useful, and subscribe.
thank you. And tonight's topic is we were nearly there. Tonight's topic is vision, mission, and values. And it's often said throughout these, and I often say, how many of these strategies we talk about come together and they work together to create our higher self. They're not standalone. I mean, they are standalone topics, and they're all different topics which we can learn to leverage our own higher self, but they do all work in synergy. And tonight's vision, mission, and values, to me, are three that really do work together more than most, in that you cannot have a vision and create a mission without values, without potentially some pitfalls along the way. But when we get the vision, the mission, the values aligned, we can achieve some incredible things. I'm going to sneeze in a minute, bear with me. So carry on, Rory. I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Oh, well, yes. Well, in fact, I'm just going to go straight into it. Uh, we can introduce ourselves as and when. But I think the important thing I think to remember is, yes, I love what you said about the connections between them, and that they all have to be aligned. Vision, mission, value. I'll just define them first of all, and then see what you get from it. Okay, so what I get, what I define it as. So vision isn't necessarily just visual. It's not just seeing something that you want to do. It's a whole embodied feeling that drives things forwards. And it's from the leadership perspective that I've learned, it's not something that you ever arrive at, ever, because it's not meant for that. A vision is there to drive you forwards consistently through time. And so vision is seeing seeing the potential of self and others, and it yeah, from the leadership perspective, it has to include others, it has to include inspiration. Otherwise it's just more imagination. So the difference between imagination and vision is massive. And as I say, like, people could just have visions of stuff, or vision. I always say this, I like to get an apple from the shops, and you go, no, I don't want an apple from the shops, because you're allergic to them. But
Yeah,
but
that's the one.
but say you want an apple from the shops. What if you look at that, or something from the shops, so food? If you want food from the shops, it's because you want to nourish yourself and keep you growing and staying alive, from not necessarily a survival perspective, but just from a forward vision of how it will feed you with something important so that you can carry on. And that's what vision is, even if people don't realize that that's what they're um seeing for themselves, is something that will nourish and grow them or keep them protected, or all this kind of stuff. So that's just even vision. And imagination either fuels your vision if you're staying focused on it, which will drive the positive changes and growth. Or you can also imagine into negatives, survival, shutdown, depression, all this stuff that will fuel that more. So imagination is the beautiful free will, but vision is actually the thing that drives us forwards as humans. So that's vision.
Should
And
we
then
round that first rather than do all of them?
okay, so I'll say that, and then I'll just say the other two, but I won't go into them in too much detail.
Okay.
Vision, vision is that, and the difference between vision and mission is almost like a set characteristics of the mechanics of the vision, which drives the vision. So mission is like the train tracks that you want. So if you want a project that represents your vision in the world, that project is part of the mission, and it's almost like a declaration of the vision. But the vision is just an embodied sense, whereas mission is something that is being specifically declared that that helps drive the vision. And then values is the bit in the middle of that that connects them, that keeps us going. So anyway, yeah. What do you get from that, Kay?
Oh, brilliant. Yes, I love the idea of the imagination being a key factor in this as well, because it is when we have a vision. To me, it's like point A, point B, and a journey in between. So, point A in a journey is like, here I am now, but I have this vision of where I want to be at point B. So, like you said, the imagination plays a big part of that. Now, whether it is bringing together known facts or coming up with something completely new and creative, there is a whole world of possibilities to have a mission, a vision of what we want to create. And to me, the mission is getting to point B. That's that journey. So we know where from the vision where point B is going to be. So we take the mission in between, and that's the journey of getting there. That is the taking action, the progress, the collaboration, the actions that we take, anything that we actually do to make that vision actually manifest and come about. And then the one to me that is also important with that, because a lot of people can do those two, and that's fine. If you're just going to go to the shops, you can go to the shops and go, yes, I'm going to go and buy an apple. You go and you buy the apple. That's the mission. But then there's the values. Now, to me, there are values, and I like your apple analogy because it's a very simple one today, even though I don't eat apples. I love apples, I just can't eat them. And the values might be, do you want to buy organic, right? Or do you want to buy cheap because it means you can buy something else for family? Or do you only buy a particular flavor or something? Or do you only buy from a particular local greengrocer rather than the big supermarket? So this is where the values also come in ensuring that the mission happens to the standards that we require and uphold our values. So by the time we actually achieve what we want and go, okay, here's the results, those results align with the original vision. So if I said, okay, I'm going to go and buy an apple, and I go to Tesco's and buy a Granny Smith's or something, and then I come home and go, but actually I wanted an organic one from the greengrocers, I haven't followed my own values in the process. And this is where I'm saying the values to me are as important as they are as the original vision and the mission. And certainly when it comes to business and creative projects, parenting, personal development, getting a job, relationships, there are so many areas in life where if we don't bring all three of those together, we can find ourselves selling ourselves short and finding all the pitfalls. So I think it's important to always start out aware of what your vision clearly is, what your mission is going to be, the actions you take, and the values you are going to uphold as you do it. So what do you get from that, Rory? My take from it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I did we or have we already talked about values as a separate one as well already?
don't know if we have actually. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, because
Or we might have done, but in a different context.
yeah, I talk about it a lot, so I can't remember whether it's but yeah, so
Yeah.
also another so the vision being a map of what the sorry, the mission being a map of what
Yeah.
of the vision is like that, seeing the whole map. The mission is like the trajectory and the specifications and
The
that kind of thing.
plans.
The journey could be a life mission, it can be a,
Mm,
a project mission, it can be just a mission for the day. You know,
mm,
it could be just like I want to go for a walk in the woods to get, clear, grounded, and relaxed, and that would be my health mission for the day. But yeah, having um, and then what, like I like what you said about the values being how to recognize that you're on your mission in a way, because otherwise you can just forget, or we can forget and move away from it. So, or I like that, and the idea of values being so many different aspects to the mission and the vision.
yeah.
And then when you look at what higher values are, the umbrella, the smaller ones, when we get to highest values, there that's almost like more and more condensed fuel. Because when we're clear on the highest values, then we've got better quality fuel, energy, petrol, that drives it. Once we're sort of loaded up on those, we know we can. And again, that's almost like that embodied feeling of when you get to higher values, they're less right, they're less writable. They're just more feelable, as it were.
Yeah.
So, for instance, joy. I would say like family being a value, Granny Smiths being a value compared
Mm,
to Cox's, and and
mm,
then joy. And when I eat an apple, it gives me joy because I love apples, and also hanging out with my family gives me joy. So if I had to pick one out of all those three, I'd pick the joy because when I'm looking for joy or accessing joy, everything those other things get covered.
mm.
As soon as I'm off my joy, for instance, um, not to be confused with like pleasure seeking, and being really clear on what joy is and whether something you're expecting to get joy from something or whether it's just how to access joy in any moment and the joy of life and the joy of experiences, even if it feels uncomfortable. That's where joy for me is as a higher value because I can come back to it or in any moment when I remember. And as soon as I remember, I'm connected to my values. It fuels me back into vision and then gets me back on the mission.
Amazing. Amazing. Yes. And it's so much about the values in terms as well of like when talking about money and time and health, like is a mission worth the value of the mission if it's going against the value of your health, for example? Or if you're putting so much time in because you value the time you're putting into a project, are you perhaps neglecting the time with family? And is family a high value as well? Or is the value around being with family actually holding you back from being involved more in a mission or a project or a job? And so there's lots of different ways to look at this around, I mean, the part about the vision, I think is fairly clear and straightforward, but then there's lots of planning as well. But that, to me, the values are such an integral part of any of this that if we don't align with our values along the way, it can all crumble or it becomes burnout. We've done a topic about burnout. We've done integrity, and that's the other one. We're talking about values. What if on your mission, you're collaborating with other people and then suddenly something happens that goes against your personal integrity? How do you handle things like that as well? And I love your idea about it even being a mission for a day, because that's a great way to put this into practice and to go, oh, actually, yes, let me practice this process. I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy that or do that or go for a walk, like you said. But start by saying, first of all, what my vision is, what I'm going to do for the day, what my mission is, how I'm going to get where I'm going to go, but also looking at your values that when you finish that, how are you going to feel at the end of it? And like you said, feeling joy should be really something we not just have as an outcome, but something we feel along the way. Like, we don't go for a walk to feel happy when we get home. We go for a walk to enjoy the walk along the way. And if we can apply that to a lot more processes in life, and that's where the values and the integrity of self comes in that we enjoy life, not enjoy rewards at the end. So we're getting away from the dopamine seeking and into living, just openly living. So whatever we're doing, we're enjoying the processes as much as humanly possible. Now, yes, life has setbacks and it has challenges. But when we approach this in the right way, we can even apply this process to overcoming challenges and setbacks. That you're on a mission and then something sort of sideswipes you and you're like, okay, so we got to do this from a slightly different place now. And it's almost like starting again at that point, getting back on vision, back on mission, but taking a new approach. And hence my quote, mastering life is all about mastering change, because life changes on the way. And it's like how we take a new approach to still get to that end goal. And we've done goal setting and boundaries and lots of topics that all tie in. But I just thought it was nice today to start tying topics together rather than doing individual ones linearly.
Yeah, love it.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyone listening,
Yeah.
your mission and what's your vision and what are your values? Have you got clear on them? I think it's important to ask those questions if we haven't. I certainly have, and my life has been so much more. I'm actually noticing my challenges and get where I'm getting stuck in real time and not being upset by it, but just feeling the upset without making myself feel wrong because I've embodied that vision. So I know that maybe it's like, oh, why am I here? What's happened? Why am I feeling like this? What's going on? And it's like, oh yeah, I've chosen this because I've got clear on my vision, and vision and mission means growth, and it doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, but it can be easy if I remember my instantly my values as soon
Mm.
as I remember. And I don't mean it like externally as well. I think that's again, I like what you brought to it with bringing values into it in between the mission and the vision, because um, it's almost it can be declared at any moment,
Yes.
even
It can change
even
as
through the
well.
hardest times.
Mm. And actually, our values can change along the way as well. And that's very often what happens with a lot of relationships over time, is that people get together, they've got a single sort of joined vision and a mission of creating a life together. And then further down the line, their values no longer align. And perhaps they've changed through different jobs, different situations, different traumas, different rewards or achievements. And people's values shift and change. And sometimes they no longer align with each other. And that can be in jobs, working with colleagues within the same job even. And it's okay to then move on and realize that you're still on your mission, even if you're not necessarily with the same person on that mission. And missions change along the way, and people come and go and join in and interweave with it. And certainly from my perspective of starting a business, and I'm sure yours as well, that we will keep having different people come into and leave our business process over many years. And I've certainly seen it enough when I've worked in jobs that are big projects. So I've mentioned before about working for an offshore wind farm. And there was a lot of people came and all collaborated and built the wind farm. And then a lot of them went because they'd done their job. And other ones came because they're then going to run it. And some stayed. And so things change all the time, even though you remain a part of it. And so just recognizing those changes and where you still fit amongst it all. And I think another one is when we're talking about obstacles, when we're talking about obstacles along the way as well. So it's like, it's not always a straight line. So if you're trying to get from A to B and there's a log in the way or something laying on the path, you've got different things. You can either step over the log or we can walk around it. unless you're going to be really clever and dig a tunnel under it. It's a bigger obstacle.
We'll turn it
Um,
into firewood.
yeah, so I mean, it's all different. So it's how we go about navigating those obstacles. But if you just on a simple walk from one end of a path to another, and you have to navigate around a log, that doesn't mean that you're not still on mission or that you're going in the wrong direction. It just means you're navigating around something. And in life, those obstacles can seem a lot more difficult to navigate sometimes. They can feel like they're pushing us off track. They can take days, weeks, and months to navigate around, but the process is still the same. And I think when we can recognize that we're not going backwards, we've not given up, so long as we're still working towards that vision, that process of navigating is part of the journey. And when we can accept those changes and barriers and work around them again, it's bringing our own values into line with it. And also, I think another really key one is our values in how we treat others along the way as well. So, how other people treat us is upholding our own values and with the boundaries and barriers. So, again, that's a previous episode we've done boundaries and barriers, but also how we treat other people along the way is really important too.
Mm,
Mm.
nice. Yeah. And how it's almost just adding on to that is how we realize we can choose how we're being affected, or how we feel like we're being affected by other people. Because,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, or even just in the moment, I
Yeah.
don't know whether at the end of the day it's just such a funny phrase. But yeah, most important thing um is that we can realize that if we're feeling upset because we think someone else is saying something or doing something, it's just mirroring something inside of us that's reminding us and taking us off track of our values, our mission, and our vision. And it's actually, if we can recognize that that's happening, then we can realize that we don't have to allow that to be occurring and step back into values. And as soon as our energy changes, things can change instantly. So yeah, it's just noticing what patterns are being um
Yes.
triggered, but out of our subconscious choice is always our choice, and how we react to that. And the last thing I was going to wrap up with around it was the vision, like vision boards. There's a lot of talk about vision boards, and it's it's fascinating because in itself they can either seem to work or not seem to work for some people. And I think it's the embodied, it's how it's taught, it's how it's embodied as a
Mm.
vision. It's not that necessarily the pictures need to be doing something. It's how we emotionally attach to the pictures that we choose on whatever. If you have tried a vision board, I'd certainly look into it. But I've got two, and it's really helps. It really helps just to, I can see it just here. It's just there, and it reminds me every day of the values built into the. It's kind of got my mission in life in pictures, but it's actually the vision. So it's still just giving me vision, although it's reminding me of the mission. It's reminding me of my values all in one go, and that's something that I think is very useful to be. It's the reminders when we
Yeah.
are off track with our vision mission. So they're one of the key things that people that I help mention that they struggle with as neurodivergent heart-centered creatives is remembering to remember.
Yeah.
It's a classic, remembering to remember.
Yeah.
It's yeah, because we've learned patterns to sort of
Yeah.
knock us
Like
off
having a list of lists. Yeah.
track all the time, and or it feels like again, if we feel like we're being knocked off track, we're not actually off track if we remember to be back on track again. And the vision board is a good way of externalizing or memory trigger. So memory triggers are so
Mm,
important. Even attaching a memory trigger to an action so that the action is just an action, but the actual trigger of it. So for instance, associating every morning doing something or turning a light on or off in the
mm.
middle of the day in a as the lights go down and you turn a light on, just even associating that with a remembrance of what's important as an example of a memory trigger. So
See, I
for,
even forget to do that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
even need to remember. But anyway, but some things become such an automated habit as well. Once you get them, you can't not do them. And I think there's another one that really goes in well with vision, mission, and values is our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs as well. And I think we've probably talked about those in various forms through various episodes. I think today really rounds up a lot of topics we've talked about over the last 28 weeks. I think we've got about 26 episodes up over the last 28 weeks. And there is a lot there. And another one is when we're talking about working around barriers as well, the element of surprise in how we cope with change. That was a really good episode as well. So I'm going to really push some previous episodes here to encourage you all to go and have a catch up because these topics really do all embody personal development as a whole. And every one of these that we've talked about, I know that both Rory and I use all of these processes in personal development. We're not just picking it and saying, oh, we'll talk about it, but we never use it. We actually embody all of these every day in some way, shape, or form. So it's thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, that element of surprise. And there was one other one I was going to bring up now, and I've forgotten to remember. I got to remember now. But yeah, this is a really great topic actually, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can come up with again next week.
well, I'm thinking if we haven't talked about it, then we can talk about the thoughts, feelings, beliefs cycle.
Oh, perhaps we can do that as a whole topic next week. What do you reckon?
Yes.
That'd be a good one. And I think for tonight, we'll keep tonight shorter because I know I am having my first kind of relaxed day after a 3-week bottleneck of work and working on my own personal development the last few days to recover from that. I think Rory's shortly behind me. Looks like you need some recovery days.
Well, I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go for a walk because it's part of my vision, mission, and values right now.
There we go. I'm probably going to do the same, even though we're nowhere near, but I'm probably going to do the same and get some fresh air while it's not raining and before it gets too hot this week. So thank you ever so much to everybody. And thank you, Rory, for another amazing conversation. I always love these conversations.
Yeah, and if yeah, I'm by the way, I'm Rory Lemon. I go by Rory Lemon Aid on the internet, and I love to support heart-centered, empathic, intuitive, creative leaders that are potentially neurodivergent or neurodiverse and want to get their projects out there with vision, mission, and values as their center point. So it's their central north. So there's that another lots of phrases coming out. North Star. What's that one about as well? But yeah,
Oh, True North.
True North Star.
North. Oh, I don't know about the North Star one, but True North. Yeah.
Yeah.
That new one that I haven't heard of then. But yes, absolutely is a lot there. And I know certainly you have helped me tremendously the last year in terms of getting my thoughts, feelings, and beliefs aligned so that I could work on my vision, create my mission, and actually stay on track this last year. And it's all coming together. So it works. This stuff all really, really works because I actually have clients now, which is tremendous. And I have been working on so many other things in the background. I really have. I've been working 70 to 90 hours the last few weeks each week. So to actually get through all of that and not burn out and recover within a day or two it just goes to show how much all of this process has supported me along the way without going off my integrity and my values. So thank you, Rory. And honestly, it's been a great year. And for myself, my name is Kay Reeve. As you can see, I'm an emotional awareness expert. And I love supporting adults who are supporting teenagers and young adults, whether they're neurodivergent, disadvantaged, or whatever they're going through with depression, stress, anxiety, emotional dysregulation. But by being there for them in a way that we can help them as visual learners. That was my mission when my son was suicidal. I had this vision like how can I help my son learn about his emotions when he's a visual learner? And I had a vision in that moment, and I started to create a way to save my son. And that ended up becoming my whole business, is using visual strategies for neurodivergent visual learners. I was a bit more long-winded than I usually say it tonight, but we're getting there because there's so much in this, and it is really powerful in what it does to support people, including therapists, coaches, mentors, leaders, right through to managers. So that is me. And if you really want to work with either of us, you can find our details either on the channel details, or we'll leave them in the video details as well. Or you can look up Rory Lemon or Rory Lemonade or Kay Reeve, emotional awareness expert, and find us on the internet.
Yay!
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. There was something. I was going to round up. Yeah. So if you really liked this, give us a subscribe, a like, a share, and please share all of your insights that you've got from this in the comments, and we'd love to keep the conversation going.
Absolutely, yes. We love having these conversations, but we want you to take part too. So please do leave us some messages back. We love having more feedback. So we really hope that you are able to approach your next mission with clear vision and uphold your values for a tremendous journey along the way, incredible outcome, success, and just absolute enjoyment of the processes. And if you are not feeling like that is your life right now, reach out and talk to us, because we're here to help you find your way through all of that, to get out of the woods and chaos and scatter and find your way forward. So thank you ever so much for watching the High Leverage Actions podcast about vision, mission, and values. So we'll see you next week for thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. We're going to have to do a trilogy of trilogies now, aren't we?